Unedited, uncensored, way that it should be. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wise Guy Sports Show for September 2022. I am one of your hosts, Jim Cranitti. As you can see just off to that side, my partner, the big Rican himself, Mike Martinez. How the hell you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's I'm in the middle of my little vacation here, so I'm enjoying life. I'm sleeping past 7 a.m., James.
And let the jealousy commence.
It's weird because I haven't done that in a very long time. Let me see. Caitlin was born in May of 2001, so it's been about 21 years since I did that. Yeah.
I actually did it this morning. The problem is that I woke up on the couch about 2 a.m. and didn't fall back to sleep until after 5.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's what I
haven't done it on the couch in a while, but I've done it in my chair.
Oh, trust me, half the times I don't even know why I have a bed, because my couch is just so friggin' comfortable. It's so plush and soft. I call it the black cloud. It's like a charcoal black. I fall asleep on it most nights.
Nice.
Well, we got a lot to cover tonight, and as you all know, tonight is kind of setting the stage, because when we come to you in about 4 weeks, all hell breaks loose. More than usual.
Yes, it does.
More than usual. Michael, I am going to throw this out there. You know what we're going to talk about tonight. Where would you like to start? Because we're still going to hit every base, no pun intended.
Well, since you want to put it that way, let's start with baseball. And let's start with what happened to Tito?
According to reports that came out of Cleveland within the last 24 hours, there is thought that Cleveland Guardians manager Terry Francona may still find a way to return to the team and possibly coach them through the end of the year, but his future for 2023 is very, very much up in the air. Tito has actually undergone just in the last 12 to 18 months, he's had a hip replaced. He had a I think he had a foot procedure. He's had back issues. He had I think a thing with like blood clotting and everything. This actually, we could, after the 2022 season, we could actually be saying goodbye to 3 all-time greats. We could be saying goodbye to Albert Pujols. We are saying goodbye to Albert Pujols. We are saying goodbye to Yadi Molina, and we could be saying goodbye to probably the greatest manager in our lifetime, Terry Francona.
I wouldn't go greatest manager in our lifetime because we have until now, which is debacle in Chicago, but Tony La Russa. We had Leland, we had Sparky at the beginning of our lives. So I don't know if I'd go greatest of our lifetime, but top 3.
I would say greatest of our lifetime, because look at what he's done since coming to Cleveland after he left Boston and how much he's gotten out of how little he's had.
Well, let's start with Boston. Let's talk about how he's the guy who was at the helm that broke the curse.
And he got him 2.
Yeah, he got 2 in Boston. He came within a rain delay of breaking the drought in Cleveland. I will say this, and I thought you were going to tell me something else was wrong with him when you said it before we started. This is probably going to be a take a lot of people aren't going to like that are in Cleveland. But if he's done, they need to make the change, and they need to make the change Sandy Alomar.
Well, that's the common thread, is that Sandy is the heir apparent. He's beloved in this town. You even love him all the way up there. it would basically be like Bernie Kosar coaching the Browns.
Only I don't think Bernie would be a good coach.
But you understand that the comparison.
It'd be like if David Wright ended up being the manager of the Mets, is basically what you're saying.
Right.
I will say this. I am surprised that the front office didn't have Tito step down a couple years ago because of the health issues, not because of his performance. I mean, he has taken a team that has refused to spend money, but has found a way to develop pitching out of this world. I mean, let's talk about the guys that they've developed. CeCe Sabathia, Cliff Lee, Corey Kluber, now Shane Bieber, not to mention Trey McKenzie, Mike Clevenger, the guy who started tonight in Miami for the Mets and Carlos Correa. Danny Baez was very good for a few years back in the day. It started the wild card game in 2013. He has done, like you said, a ton with not a lot. He's gotten a lot of veteran players who were past their prime, like a la Nick Swisher and Jason Giambi. He has gotten a lot of great play from young players, Francisco Lindor, who is now a Met. That core, that young group that took that team to the World Series in 2016, phenomenal, but not the most talented roster they could have had. So it would be a sad day if Tito has to hang them up for health reasons, but being selfish because of where Sandy Alomar was born, it's the same town as my father. You know what? Most catchers make pretty good managers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely, because they know how to go. They will call a 9-inning, if not longer, game, and they basically see everything that the manager is seeing from a much better vantage point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, each manager has to learn how to work a bullpen. They have to learn how to maximize their roster, especially now with the DH in both leagues. So there's really no difference in managing. Real quick, I'm going to jump in with something. The machine has tied the fraud.
I'm not.
Pujols hit number 696.
Wow! I didn't even get the report.
MLB.
Wow! And he's still got it. Four to go to hit 700, and he's still got about 3 more weeks.
Yeah, I hope he gets 700. It would be very nice to see. Sorry, I'm watching the end of the Met games on at the same time.
Congratulations, Albert.
Absolutely. You want to talk about career resurrection for a final season that he wasn't supposed to be this big a piece. He has been gigantic for this Cardinals team that has overtaken Milwaukee in the Central and is going to get that 3 seed in the National League playoffs.
Right. It's the last time that you and I had a solo show, the Cardinals were 2 games back in the NL Central. If they hold on and beat the Pirates tonight, they're going to be 8.5 games in front. Although Pittsburgh, for whatever reason, they can't seem to solve. They got clobbered by them last night. They just came back and tied that one a few minutes ago with Pujols' home run.
Yeah. Yeah, Pittsburgh wants to play spoiler. I mean, they played really good against the Mets in that series earlier this week. The Nationals, too, the Marlins winning last night. These lower-tier teams are starting to be like, you know what? You're not going to walk over us to the playoffs. And I like it, other than the Marlins, because I hate the Marlins.
Well, let's talk before we get into the main topic we wanted to talk to tonight about baseball that came out actually just over 24 hours ago. Let's talk some pennant races here. We've already talked about the what's going on in the NL Central. We know that the Dodgers have essentially run away and put a nice little bow on the National League West. We've already started to see a few teams be officially eliminated from postseason contention. So we know that's like when you see that E next to somebody's name in the overall standings, you know that's the initial catalyst of the playoff push in baseball. Because then those E's start piling up and then those X's start taking their place.
Exactly. So I mentioned this. I was on Willie's National Brothers of Baseball show the other night, and I mentioned this. So we're talking pennant races. I got the Mets on in the background. On June 1st, the New York Mets had a 10.5 game lead in the National League East. Since June 1st, shut up. Do you know what the Braves' record was from June 1st on?
I didn't have time to put that together, but I know you did.
62-24. By the way, the Mets were 51-35 over that same stretch. The Mets didn't lose this lead. Atlanta went out and took it.
Right.
But I will say this, and I mentioned this the other day. All the Mets have to do is end in a flat-footed tie at the exact same record, because there is no more game 163. With the playoffs the way they are currently, there is no and the National League East is once again a flat-footed tie as the Mets win 11-3, beating the Marlins. It is now tied until the Mariners-Braves game later on.
Right, which literally just started. It's bottom of the first and 2 out.
Okay. So Atlanta went out and took this thing. But if the Mets end up in a flat-footed tie, all they got to do is get one in Atlanta in a few weeks, because then the Mets win the season series, and that's the tiebreaker. They already have 9 wins against Atlanta already. So, look, after the Marlins, it's the Pirates again. Then it's it's the Cubs, then the Pirates. And then they play, in this stretch, they play Oakland, they play Milwaukee, they play the Nationals, they play the Braves. Mets have a decent shot at getting this thing done. Either way, both teams, you're getting 2 out of the National League East. It's happening. Either one's going to be the 2 and the other the 4, whoever it is. So somebody's getting a bye, and that's what this is about, especially the Mets with an older rotation, an older team. Max Scherzer's back on the IL because of that oblique again. They need that time off. However, if they don't get it, I still like their chances going DeGrom and Scherzer in a 3-game series at Citi Field against either the Cardinals, who they took 5 out of 6 from, or it wouldn't be the Cardinals.
The Cardinals would be the 3.
So it would be either the Phillies
or the Padres.
Or the Padres. And the Mets took 5 out of 6 from the Padres, or 4 out of 6 from the Padres, and they took 2 out of the first 3 from Milwaukee, and we'll have the next 3 coming up in the coming weeks.
Well, now that we've actually got a dogfight in our hands in the NL East, let's actually shift over to the American League East. Michael, are the New York Yankees on the verge of one of the most epic collapses we've ever seen?
You will hear me laugh from upstate New York if that happens. You will
as
actually hear my cackling laughter.
As of right now, the New York Yankees at one point were 13.5 games ahead in that division. That lead is now shrunk to 4.5, and Tampa Bay is coming. Tampa Bay is 8-2 in their last 10. And oh, by the way, Toronto is only 5.5 back. They're also 8-2 in that in their last 10. The Yankees are only 5-5.
Well, the other thing you got to think about too is the Yankees took it to Tampa today.
They did, but let's be honest. Corey Kluber has not been the same since his final year in Cleveland.
No, and speaking of that, the Guardians always know when to get rid of guys. By the way,
right?
Look, yeah, this could be epic, and not that I'm the type to say I told you so. It's not my way. But in this case, I would. And I said this on Willie's show, and I meant it. If they blow this lead, Brian Cashman needs to lose his job.
Oh, without a doubt. And you would see pretty much every other you would see 29 other markets in Major League Baseball start doing backflips wherever possible. Go ahead.
What I was going to say was he didn't improve the team at the trade deadline. He didn't improve the team in the offseason. And now he hasn't signed Aaron Judge.
Right.
And
that's
unfortunately, the only guy in baseball right now with the pockets and the set to try and be his former employer is the guy across town. And that's
right.
Steve Cohen.
Right. Michael, did you also happen to see what happened in Minnesota last night between our Gardos and the Twins as they opened up that uber crucial 3-game set?
No, but I also didn't know that Chicago had jumped the Twins for second place.
That is correct. That is correct. Minnesota 3 weeks ago was in first place. Minnesota has now fallen to third in the American League Central.
That's really the only other dogfight we're going to have. It's the American National League East and the American League Central. They're the only two that are underneath 5 games.
Right.
Or 4 games, excuse me. So buckle up in Cleveland and New York. It's going to get fun. But what happened last night with our guards and the Twins and the Twinkies?
The Gardos jumped out to a 6-0 lead and then eventually held on and won 7-6. That wasn't the major highlight, although Tito actually kind of lit the guys up in the locker room afterwards for basically blowing the better part of a 6-run lead in that one. For the second time that I can remember this season, Minnesota manager Rocco Baldelli had a incredibly stupid on-field challenge or questioning. We remember what actually happened a couple of months ago where Toronto actually where Gary Sanchez was accused of blocking the plate, and the Toronto player actually got in under the tag that blew up all news sources. Last night, Rocco Baldelli had Guardians reliever and Mr. You can't even get on base against me anymore, James Karinchak. He had his hair checked to make sure he wasn't doctoring the ball. Karinchak takes his cap off and runs his hand through his hair, and Karinchak's got a very, very luscious set of hair on him. And that's not a dig at you or me. Baldelli proceeds to come out and challenge to where the umpires go out and they check Karinchak to make sure he does not have shit in his hair that he's putting on the ball, a la Eddie Harris in Major League.
I was just going to say. The real question, James, is did he go to his nose? Did he rub jalapeno up in there to get that running? And
I'm going to defend the Gardos left and right, but James Karinchak has also been accused of being, and I will risk the YouTube strike by saying this, there are some in this town that refer to him as James KKK Karinchak because of his very, very strong political right-wing defenses.
He's one of those.
Yes.
Interesting.
They actually had to call guys up from the minors every time they go to Toronto because he's unvaxxed and refuses to and cannot get into the border. He cannot get across the border.
Well, Karinchak's not as important as Arenado and Goldschmidt, but hey. You froze. Can I screen capture this and do what you did? What?
My mouth isn't open.
No, you had a dumb look on your face, though. Nice. I was talking.
Happy 35th birthday to Paul.
I gotta take the heat on this because the fresh shaven head is starting to itch, and I'm not dealing with this crap.
I got a suggestion.
So I apologize to those watching. If you get a glare off my head, I'm really sorry.
What do you use?
Believe it or not, I use just regular razor and shaving cream. I go right down to the skin, dude.
Best suggestion is do what I do is get like one of those old timey safety razors. Best shave you'll ever have, especially on your head.
Yeah, one of those old timey safety razors. Let me tell you a little story. Now, since we're uncensored, I can tell this story. Now, when I got married the second time, my father asked me if I was going to use what he calls the Puerto Rican marriage vows, which is to love, honor, obey, and hand over switchblade. Now, this is the man who slit his wrist with a butter knife. So, remember the Lender's bagels, the frozen ones?
Very much so, man.
Okay, hold on. This is where it gets good. So when we were living here the first time, and I was trying to get a bagel apart. He goes, "Give me it, I'll do it." He gets a butter knife out, and he caught himself because it was a serrated edge, and that was nearly 30 years ago. I'm not going to let him live it down. Hey, remember how we were talking about going off the rails again?
Hey, it took us 21 minutes this time.
Hey, that's good for us. I felt it coming when we made the Eddie Harris reference. I really did.
Insubordinate and churlish.
You do have the board ready for tonight.
Not well. I only have the YouTube clips. The board is actually coming next month.
That's great. Hey, here's one for you. Speaking of the absurd and the obnoxious. So you wanted to talk about the rule changes.
Let's get into it. Where do you want to start? Because I got stuff for all three of them.
Let's start with my own personal, if I may, reaction to this. Bigger bag, whatever. Pitch
is
clock.
Is that really going to be that big of a deal? 3 inches.
There's a joke there. No,
you can make it.
No, I'm not going to. I get laughed at. I can't do it. Anyway, but my overall feeling on this, with the banning of the shift, the pitch clock, and the bases is fuck ESPN. Because this is the talking heads, Stephen A. Stupid, and the rest of those morons who don't know a fucking thing about baseball, who don't understand that you cannot plug a sport that took over the country because of the internet, gambling, and ESPN turning into NFL Network Part 2. Now there's a pitch clock because games are going too long. Shut the fuck up.
And that's essentially what your rule is right there. The rule will be that if there is nobody on base, pitchers have 15 seconds to come set and make the pitch. Now, the other aspect of that is that batters have to also be set, because if they are not set, it's an automatic strike. If pitchers are not set after that 15 seconds, it's an automatic ball. If there's anybody on base, it's 20 seconds.
Here's the other part. They cut the amount of times you can throw over.
Yes.
What the fuck? What the fuck? You called me a pussy for not making a dick joke before. Rob Manfred's a pussy for doing this.
Well, this is also going to be are we less than 5 years away from maybe seeing robot umpires for balls and strikes?
Only if Angel Hernandez is working. Look, listen, I am old school in a lot of ways with this game. I got to tell you, I wasn't fully on board with the universal DH at the beginning of the season because the Mets have pitchers who can hit. And with the universal DH, we would have never gotten Bartolo.
and Albert wouldn't have passed Aroyd tonight.
That's true. But having said that, I am now a fan of it. Only because really the Mets got Daniel Vogelbach, who I happen to adore. Oh, by the way, Cookie's 14-6.
What was that about the Gardos knowing when to let guys move on?
Right. That was contract fleecing. We both know.
Right.
But going back to the rules, that the pitch clock and its attached components bother me. As a former pitcher, now I didn't get past high school, and I was the type. You can ask our buddy Mr. Creed. He's your boy Jason's cousin. Give me the ball, I want to throw it. That's how I was. But I understand the nuance. The Mets have a guy in Taijuan Walker who is maybe one of the better right-handed moves in the game, but he always lulls you to sleep with a little toss over, and then he gets you with the good move. You can't do that anymore.
Let's talk about the other major rule change that I've been begging for years. The shift is gone. Long overdue. I don't want to see 5 fucking infielders.
You know what, though? It's not just that.
I don't want to see the entire infield lined up on the other side of second base because a guy's a dead pull here.
There's 2 schools of thought. Yours is one of them, and you're absolutely right. It does get annoying, but there comes a time when you have to be able to adapt. And banning something does not allow hitters to adapt. Hit the ball to left field if you're a left-handed pull hitter. Hit the ball to right field if you're a right-handed pull hitter.
If you want to have 5 guys on the infield, let's go to Little League or Pee Wee, where we
softball
actually
has the roving guy in short field.
Yeah, where we can actually have short right fielders and short left fielders, and
But that's not what I'm talking about. If you want to play a percentage of what a guy's going to do, I get that. I'm not for shifting every time. I think it's ridiculous to do it all the time. But you shouldn't be not allowed to do it. It annoys me they're making these changes because they think the game needs more offense. No, the game doesn't need more offense. What the game needs is guys with a bat in their hand to stop thinking, all I got to do is hit the ball over the fence. I'm going to make $50 million freaking dollars.
Right.
Play the game. Hit the ball to right field. Hit the ball to left field. I was just watching something on YouTube came up when I was playing Xbox the other day because Shambi and Singleton get annoying when you're playing the show. Mm-hmm. So I'll do zero sound and I'll have the earbuds in. And a thing about Mike Piazza came up. Jim, did we see anybody in our lifetime hit balls farther to right field than Mike Piazza? From a right-handed batter?
That wasn't juiced up. No, I don't think so.
Exactly. That wasn't juiced up. The guy's a monster to begin with. But seriously, you have guys in the Hall of Fame who made careers on hitting the ball to the opposite field. And hitting the ball to the opposite field for power. So what happened now? Specialization happened now. One sport from the time you're a little kid happened now. So, again, the pitch clock and its attachments are the ones it annoys the shit out of me.
Yeah, I have no problem with the shift being banned. I'm not sure, how big of a deal the bases are going to be. I like the idea of the pitch clock, but I think it's a very much like the overtime rules in the NFL. The execution is shit.
Agreed.
But it's definitely it's a prototype that you can evolve.
I find it funny that someone from Cleveland who was managed to 2 World Series by the human rain delay thinks it's okay for a pitch clock. Like
NFL,
Hargrove. It's
NFL games are 3.5, 4 hours. Basketball games, hockey
That's what
games,
pisses me
baseball
off.
games should be about 2.5 to 3.
Now, this is what pisses me off. I've been to NFL games. I've been to minor league hockey games. I've been to NFL games. I've been to college games. The difference is in major league, in any level of baseball, bless you,
Thank you.
you have to get all 18 if it's 6 innings, 21 if it's 7, 27 outs if it's 9. You can't pass the ball in your end of the ice or pass the puck in your end of the ice. In Major League Baseball, you cannot dribble out the clock. You can't kneel on the ball. You got to get everybody out. So inherently, that's going to take longer. Why games with an hour clock take 3.5 hours? I watched all snaps of the Ohio State game today. That game kicked off at 1. It was done. Well, it was done earlier than that, but it was done at 3:25. They're 15-minute quarters. That's 3 hours and 25 minutes for an hour-timed game.
Yeah. What the somebody ran a research a few years ago, and they said over the course of like an NFL game, there's only about 18 minutes worth of actual play between snaps.
And in a Major League Baseball game, there was 18 and a half minutes of action. I can't begin to tell you. I mean, that's one of the reasons I've done episodes where I've talked about why I think the NFL has taken over. They didn't take over until the internet allowed you to gamble easier.
Yes.
Think about it. What were the two things that people looked up on the internet when it came to be? Gambling and porn.
Trying to figure out how to merge the two.
It's that 3-inch comment from before, James.
Gambling on porn. Who wins?
Lord knows DraftKings is going to have something stupid like that.
Hey, if Lisa Ann's got her own podcast, a sports-based podcast, who are we to argue?
That's true. All right. The rule thing is going to annoy me, and I got to try and keep it down a little bit. I already heard the kid yell once. So.
Well, let's actually now move on to something that we started on the Ohio State preview show last week, and we can actually go into it a little bit more tonight. We've already talked about I think we've covered the framework of the college football playoff expanding to 12 teams in 2026, and they're still trying to get 2024. But let's also, Mike, for a week that didn't have a whole lot of buildup going into it, holy shit, did we get some drama this week.
I tell you what, now, mind you, I am the type of college football fan, unless I'm doing a background show for the CFP. I actually looked into that. But I'm the type of college football fan, as you can see what I'm wearing tonight. My 4 consecutive. Found it on Amazon for $19.99, Jim, in my size.
First of all, you got
big guy size licensed apparel for 19. Not for a 5X, dude. Shut up.
What, you need a line of fucking birdcage?
I don't have blue on.
Want to know?
The fuck they play. Oh, you're talking about the Bills. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that in a few.
Let's actually, because I want to talk. I want to talk about the fried piece of toast that is Jalen Ramsey in a minute. But anyway,
let's get into what happened today. As you can see there, we had 4 upsets. Now that Pittsburgh won, not necessarily because Pitt did lose in overtime to Tennessee, who was 23rd. Wisconsin gets upset. Texas A&M. Guess who got A&M?
App State got A&M.
App State, the world beaters, and Notre Dame also stunned.
To Marshall. Who did Wisconsin play?
Wazoo.
Really?
Yep.
Is Wazoo going to come out and win the Pac-12 this year just to do it?
No. No way.
You think this was an outlier? Is it that Wisconsin didn't? Because that was at Camp Randall, wasn't it?
Yes.
Did Wisconsin not play well?
Wazoo went cross country to Camp Randall, went in there and stunned Wisconsin.
I'm shocked.
And if you look at the bottom there, we're going to talk about that first game here in a minute, but that Florida-Kentucky game is ongoing right now, and Kentucky just took the lead 23-16 in the swamp and has it 3rd and 5 on their own 20, and they just went to the 4th.
Wow. Yeah, but that wouldn't really be an upset. That's 20-12, an SEC conference game, though. That's not.
Yeah, but Kentucky doesn't win in the swamp. When Kentucky's won in that series, it's been in Knoxville. Not Knoxville.
Okay.
Whatever. It's Kentucky. Who cares?
Cincinnati, for all we know.
I get a guy in my office. His mother is 92 years old and lives in Kentucky, and every time they lose in the in March Madness, I actually ask. I say, ask your mom how did Big Blue Balls go?
You don't do that.
One and done. You.
Yeah, Calipari either wins the whole thing with a bunch of guys who leave, or he doesn't win anything.
It's a tradition unlike any other, and I'm not talking.
Was it John Chaney that tried to fight him?
Yes.
I thought so.
Man, did I hate John Chaney.
Yo, I hated him too, and then he wanted to fight Calipari, and I was like, I like you now. So, all right, so Texas A&M lost to App State, who was like, big college. By the way, Michigan was number 6 when they beat them too.
Right.
Wisconsin lost to Wazoo. The Pitt Tennessee game.
It's still technically an upset, but it's not as big as you would think. But
now let's talk about that last one. Let's talk about a Notre Dame team that even me in my review of Ohio State's win last week said they were better than I think people thought they were. Why is Marcus Freeman screwing the Buckeyes?
Oh, deal with it. It always comes back to overrated state. And by the way, the 4 games on here, congratulations to Clemson, Georgia, Michigan State, and overrated state for just squeaking by this week. Clemson 35-12 Georgia 33-0 against Samford. Michigan State 52-0 against Akron. Overrated State 45-12 against Arkansas State. Play somebody, god damn it.
Hold on a minute. Didn't I say that last week?
Yes, you did, and I'm reinforcing it now.
I'm with you, but to their credit, they opened up with number 5. Georgia's the only one who opened up with anybody good out of the people you just said. Bama nearly lost to Quinn Ewers, who couldn't get a job at Ohio State and almost beat them. Well, no, he didn't almost beat them. He got hurt. A 1-point win at unranked Texas. But that's a gutty performance by Alabama. A 2-score win against number 5 Notre Dame, and Ohio State lost a spot in the polls.
And I tell you what, I don't think Alabama went out and won that game. I think Texas went out and lost that game because you know what they did?
They really did.
They played Marty ball. What does the prevent defense?
Me?
What does the prevent defense do? It prevents you from
winning.
Alabama went 75 yards in 90 seconds for the game-winning field goal. Oh yeah, when they put that ball down, it was at the 4-yard line. They went 71 yards in 81 seconds. Their first two plays on that drive, I want to say, were 20 yards and 33 yards.
I understand not wanting to let anybody behind you. But if you're going to stop them in front of you, don't give them a 15-yard cushion and tackle.
Right. Considering, you get these coaches who, sure, they're campaigning for NFL jobs. The problem is you don't coach for the NFL, because if you give them that 15-yard cushion, oh yeah, that clock stops.
Yeah, I hate the prevent defense. I hate it in the pros. I hate it in college. But let's talk about Notre Dame a little bit. I did not know that they lost. I was actually, after the game was over, we were doing stuff right here. We had some work done in the bathroom. So, Steph took today and she cleaned up everything, and we're doing laundry and getting everything ready, because even though I'm off this week, we still got appointments and stuff. So I sit down, and it's after dinner. Bobby had gotten his first, quote unquote bath. He was taking showers because the bathroom was torn up. But we're sitting there, and I flip through, and a guy who I follow from Cleveland's on there, and he goes, "Oh, my college football season's over." I'm like, dude, they're 2-0, and they just smoked somebody today. He's a Notre Dame fan. I went, whoa, wait a minute. What happened? And I looked at it. I got nothing.
Here's the thing. Notre Dame took the lead 15-12, 3 seconds into the fourth quarter on a Tyler Buckner 1-yard run. It was 15-12 Notre Dame with about 5.5 minutes to go. Marshall puts 2 touchdowns on the board. They go up 19-15 on a 3-yard Devin Miller touchdown, and then Stephen Gilmore has a 37-yard pick six to put them up 26-15 with 4.5 to go, and then Notre Dame has a 5-yard touchdown with 14 seconds to go to make the score respectable. That's a 2-score loss to an unranked MAC team at home.
They're done.
Oh, we knew they were done.
They're done. Yeah, but with the way they lost at Ohio State last week, come on. They played good last Saturday. They really did. Yeah, they're done. What's the Khaki Pants crew doing against Hawaii
Notre Dame was a 20.5 point favorite in that game too.
Yeah, I don't. The point spreads don't matter to me. I'm not. Oh, good. Harbaugh's winning 21-0 against Hawaii. Oh, yeah. Speaking of play somebody, I don't judge a team winning by the point spread. I judge a team winning in how they played. Last week, Bucks offense, not very good. Bucks defense, phenomenal. This week, didn't play anybody, so I don't really pay attention. I don't even think I'm doing a review show this week.
Shouldn't do one next week either.
I like the in-state stuff just because it's in-state. I will probably do one next week just to do
Youngstown State. Come on.
I didn't say they weren't going to get smoked. I said I happen to like those games. Jim, the game I went to in the Horseshoe was against Tulane.
I'm going to shit all over.
Creedy's and I left at halftime. It was 49-0 Ohio State. The game I went to the year before was against Rutgers.
Rutgers.
That was in Jersey, though. That was scary because we were afraid, Jersey.
Well, of course, it's the armpit of the East Coast.
There is a picture of Nick and I that was on the front page of the sports section of the Columbus Post-Dispatch the next morning. We were one row. We were on the field. Like, I yelled at Ray Rice. That didn't look like the chick from the elevator.
Although there's a restaurant in New Jersey, my brother drove past it one year on the way to a metal festival with Adam, and if you remember, Jeff Polsner. The restaurant is called Cluck You Chicken.
I've heard of it. No, there's a picture of Creedies and I. We look like we're afraid to say anything. Denzel Ward had just picked off a pass in front of us. We were on like the 7-yard line, right by the tunnel where they come out. And we looked like nothing was going on. So people asked me, how come we didn't look excited? I was like, I was in Jersey.
When I am king, New Jersey, basically everyone from New York and New Jersey will be pushed over there. And we talk about California drifting off on the side of the ocean. Nope, we're going to build a 200-foot wall around New Jersey. We're going to shove it out in the middle of the Pacific. Those fucking people annoy me.
Yeah. So let's talk about the impact.
I am 85% Paisan. That accent is so fake. There is no dialect in Italy. There's no region in Italy that has that thick of an accent.
Oh, I agree with you. But let's talk about what that first thing here in your overlay says. What does this do to first of all, the SEC? Let's start there. Because everybody's strength of schedule in the SEC is higher when they played Texas A&M. You lost to App State. There's no excuses now for the SEC apologists. You lost to unranked to FCS App State. You're number 16 ranked.
Actually, App State is Division I now.
Did they move up their FBS now?
They're I think they've been Division 1A for a few years now because they're in the Sun Belt Conference with Old Dominion.
So they're FC.
Who I talked about last week that upset Virginia Tech, and boy, what a horrific week it was for the Hokies.
Yeah. So they're FCS, which is still Division I, but they're not the bowl subdivision. So your number 16 loses to App State. Your King crap. Can we discuss the sign real quick that I sent you on Messenger?
Come on. I'm War Eagle all the way, man. Go ahead.
Mama says you say Roll Tide because you can't say elephant. That's my second favorite Alabama shot. My favorite is the one of Cersei Lannister that says Roll Tide.
I've never seen Game of Thrones. I don't get the analogy.
So you're sleeping with her brother.
There's a friend of ours, a mutual friend. I'm not going to name her, and it is a she. You graduated with her.
Okay.
One night we're just kind of chilling at her place. And
is this mutual friend, has she just moved to the South?
Yes.
Okay, I know it is.
Okay. Did you ever remember how a couple of months ago we were talking about my love of Anna Kendrick?
Yes.
Did you ever see the movie A Simple Favor?
I have not. My wife, her and Blake Live, Mrs. Deadpool.
Yes. There is a scene, and she still to this day refers to me as, she essentially calls Anna Kendrick's character in the movie Brother Fucker. Watch the movie. It's great. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in love with both women. But it's a great movie, and there's a twist that you never see coming at the end.
I've heard it's crazy. Jim, here's a game that you didn't mention that I think was crazy. How about number 25, Houston losing to Texas Tech?
See, I didn't get that one because I'm actually on ESPN, and I think they run the coaches poll as opposed to the AP.
Houston's number 25.
Okay, so it does come up. Yeah, it was an overtime game. Yep.
Yeah, they lost to unranked Texas Tech, and you got another big one tonight. You got Baylor and BYU tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably have that one on after we log off because that one's on ESPN Plus, which means I can watch it.
Yeah, it means I'm going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
So this first of all, this weekend is going to have big college football playoff implications because now, unfortunately, Ohio State's big resume maker win is gone until
conference
because out of conference wise, but then of course they play Wisconsin Wisconsin's less of a team now, having to lose to Wazoo. And by the way, when I said, are they going to win the Pac-12 just to do it, I thought you meant Washington, not Washington State. So, yeah, no, I got you. They're not going to win the Pac-12. This weekend hurt Ohio State's resume. This weekend hurt the SEC's resume because now Bama beating Texas A&M. Woo! They lost to an unranked team, kids. I love these weekends when that happens. I love it.
Let's move into one of our final topics of the night. And I know Mike does not really want to go into this too much, but we are going to. Thursday night kicked off the NFL season. It was very, very bittersweet for me because I got to see my two favorite teams head to head on prime time.
And one took an ass whooping.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, Buffalo Bills went into SoFi Stadium on banner night and kicked the living snot out of the Los Angeles Rams in the second half.
Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the biggest shit talker in the NFL. Gave up a perfect passer rating
To Stephon Diggs
Thursday
and Josh
night.
Allen. Yup.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, Josh Allen's garbage. Hey, Jalen Ramsey, you haven't earned $1 of your freaking contract.
Right.
Shut up. You're never going to be Darrelle Revis. Don't try and be Darrelle Revis. You suck. The only corner that gets burned more than him is Eli Apple.
Or Denzel Ward.
Denzel doesn't get burned that much.
Denzel's nickname should either be Toast or Hospital because he's either or.
Jim, when Denzel's playing man up, he's better than when he plays zone. I'm telling you, that's the problem. Joe Woods is a moron.
Yeah, we're going to cover that team here in a couple of minutes.
Oh, can we?
My show, my rules, pal.
This is a joint venture, sir.
Oh, no, what's that? I'm sorry. What's what?
Wow. With all the Ohio State slander I take, you jerk.
Don't mess with the guy with the trigger.
That's true.
But that game was 10-10 at the half. Buffalo was starting to run away with that, and then we had 3 turnovers on 9 plays during a period in the second quarter, and then Buffalo just decides, hey, we're tired of this shit. We're winning. We're having our name on the Lombardi Trophy this year. We're taking over.
I tell you what, if week 1 is any indication, I think that you now have to think that the Buffalo Bills are the favorite to win this thing. Von Miller is a big difference maker on this defense. And I watched none of this. I watched a little bit of the highlights before coming on because I knew you and I would want to talk about it. But Von Miller's a difference maker because it's not so much of his play, but it's his presence.
Right.
You have to plan for him. But going back to the team that lost real quick. Sorry, I stepped on something the other day. I just rolled my foot the right way.
Legos.
No, you know when you go from carpet to we have tile in the kitchen, you usually have that metal bar there.
The runner, yeah.
Ours doesn't have one, and I caught like the carpet tacks in the bottom of my foot.
Considering I'm still dealing with the tendonitis in both ankles right now, yeah, I just cringed up on that.
Yeah, it hurts. So the Rams are in real trouble.
I think they're in real trouble until Van Jefferson gets back because right now, yeah, Cooper Kupp had 14 catches on 17 targets. But really outside of him and Tyler Higbee, there's nothing there.
You're right, and I'm not talking about the offense. Stafford and Cooper Kupp and those boys, they'll find a way to score points.
Right.
But they can't stop a nosebleed. And if Aaron Donald, like he should, gets suspended for what happened in training camp, what do they have on that side of the ball?
The Rams still have a very good front seven, but you can't replace the you can't replace the best defender in football and second best player, arguably how Tom Brady was number one. And there's a story that came out about him that I'm going to talk about here in a minute. Allegedly, my father let me in on that earlier today. That you can't have arguably the best defensive player in football, if not the best overall player in football, sitting on the bench in a title defense year, especially with San Francisco about to, challenge you left and right for the top spot in the NFC, because really it's just them and everybody else is picking scraps.
I agree with you, but unfortunately,
we don't think Dallas isn't going to be there. Tampa's not going to be there.
No.
What? Who's coming out of the South? Nobody.
Carolina. No, I'm kidding.
Be nice.
That'd be hilarious, though. That'd be hilarious. No, with the way the Rams are playing, I think it's right for a San Francisco or Green Bay picking. But no offense to you being a fan of them, Donald needs to go. You can't do that. Miles got a season.
Miles got 6.
Because of where the season was.
Yeah.
He was suspended indefinitely. So Miles got the remainder of a season. If he's not disciplined for this, not only do they have a bad look for what we're going to talk about soon, they're going to have a bad look for this.
Yeah. You kind of have to, because Miles never had another issue on his record, and then this happens, and then he's and yet it's the only bad thing he's ever done in his career. Although there was the report that came out earlier this week that he left Baker hanging.
Whatever.
That Baker Mayfield sent Myles Garrett a text after the trade came down, said, "I really enjoyed my time with you," and Myles never responded.
That
was your
sounds
teammate,
more
your
like
co-captain for 3 years.
Yeah, that more sounds like a guy who just didn't know what to say. Because, you know what? Let's jump into it, because now my brain's moving. And let's do a mini preview of tomorrow's opener. But going back to it, that more sounded like a guy who didn't know what to say. Because as much as the players have rallied around the troops, so to say, you don't hear a lot of them really supporting the new guy, do you?
No, and the other thing is the other aspect about that is not a whole lot of them are supporting the new guy. They're also not giving rave reviews about the on-field product of the guy who's having to step in for him for the next 11 weeks. You hear how great of a character guy he is, but have you heard anyone express confidence that he'll be able to have you within striking distance when he comes back?
No. The AFC North is a 2-team division. It's the Ravens and it's the Bengals.
And we have to see if Cincinnati's a flash in the pan. Do they have hangover?
I think they will have hangover, but I think Burrow is good enough to captain that offense to – remember, they made some key additions on the offensive line, which is what they needed to do. But I think Burrow can get it done, can get back to the playoffs. I don't think they win the division. I think the Purple's going to ride the AFC North into the playoffs as possibly the 2 seed. Maybe the 3.
Preseason, I've got them a 3, maybe. I've got them no worse than the 3, just because the West is going to be a dogfight. You got all 4 teams in the AFC West who could potentially come out and steal that division.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think anybody's catching Buffalo, especially in that division.
And think about this. Buffalo did that without and they cut Cole Beasley in a salary cap.
Did they really?
Yeah. Cole Beasley has not been signed.
Did he land anywhere?
No, because here's the thing is that he's also another anti-vaxxer. And teams don't want to put up with that headache, especially if numbers go back up.
Gotcha. So let's talk about tomorrow at 1 p.m., huh?
The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, let's start here. I have seen some ignorant things in my day, James. I went to Brush High School. You've seen ignorant things just like I have. But Brown's Twitter, not realizing that if they don't get their head out of their ass and they don't pay attention to who the Browns are playing tomorrow, they don't realize the Carolina Panthers redid that entire offensive line. Christian McCaffrey is healthy.
For now.
Listen, he could be, during introductions tomorrow, fall on his face.
He could be like Danny Bateman to the guy I'm wearing. Take out the cheerleading squad. I watched it last night. It's fresh in my brain.
Yeah, but are the cheerleaders all strippers?
This is Carolina.
That's very true.
Carolina got some biscuits. I'm single.
Yes.
I can make those remarks.
I can say it. I just can't sample it. But in all seriousness, Brown's Twitter has been, Miles is going to kill him this, Clowney's going to kill him that, and there was a couple of Carolina fans who have jumped on the Baker bandwagon. And again, I've said this before, I'm not a Baker bro. I'm not. I just feel he was done dirty. And they said, guys, we redid our entire offensive line, and the one guy we kept was the top at his position in the entire league last year. Meanwhile, Jack Conklin's not ready. Brissett is not ready. I will give a shout out. Did you see Kareem Hunt was inducted into the Willoughby South
Yes, he was.
Sports Hall of Fame last night?
Yes, he was.
Nordonia won again, by the way.
Miz.
How much rapport could Brissett have built with the wide receiver core, which is an Amari Cooper injury away from being terrible? Are you sleeping? Your eyes were shut. Were you sleeping? Again, I mean, I'm being a realist here. And I'm going to say this and mean every second of it. As they got the highlights of Kluber getting lit up today on SNY right now. No fan base, the majority of it, deserves a Super Bowl more than the Cleveland Browns. None. The Browns franchise and fan base has lived through arguably the worst scenario of any fan base on the planet. That's not the Raiders, who have moved 3 times in our lifetime. They moved from Oakland to LA, back to Oakland. Now they're in Las Vegas.
All due respect to our brother in arms, Willie, and I'm not going to, and I'm going to sound, like coming off a homer here. I'm going to argue that maybe Buffalo's got it a little bit worse. Yeah, they didn't move, but 4 Super Bowls, and also you throw the Music City Miracle in that as well. Who's been more snake bit with? Because let's face it, several of those Buffalo teams should have won some Super Bowls. They should have won it last year. And then we got that we got that dumbass overtime rule that thankfully they've gone out and corrected.
I've always said that it should be like college. Each team gets the ball. If you don't want to do it at the 25-yard line, don't do it at the 25-yard line. But you have, no matter what happens with that first drive, you have to let the other team possess the ball.
Let me throw this scenario out. I brought this up to my father the other day, and he loves this idea. I know you're not a big hockey guy, The NBA takes care of itself. Baseball, there's rumors that they could be going back to the man on second in extra innings to speed it up. So this way we don't have that 17-inning game and you end up wasting your bullpen. Anyway, let's shift off of that. In hockey, we used to have the 10-minute overtime. Then it was a 5-minute overtime. Then they eliminate ties. And now you've got the 5-minute overtime that it was 4-on-4. Now it's 3-on-3. And then it turns into top shelf derby because then you don't have ties anymore. I would like to see a scenario where the NFL goes to the college rules and gives them cracks at the 25 in the regular season until we get a winner, but do like the NHL does and have a continuous overtime in the playoffs until somebody scores, and then you do the same thing in the NFL. You play to sudden death in overtime as long as each team possesses the ball at least once.
I think that the NFL has to go to each team possessing the ball once, no matter what, whether it's regular season or postseason. Ties are stupid. You have to have a winner. I'm sorry. Back when I was a Jet fan, you play to win the game.
Yep.
You don't play to tie it. So yeah, everybody should be able to possess the ball in overtime. I fully believe that. If you don't want to do it like college, where you get it at the 22 kickoffs, or start at opposite 25, where you do get the touchbacks because no one's returning kicks now anyway.
Yeah, it's. I can't believe of all things the USFL had the kickoff idea correct for the mishmash video game scenario that they had going with those.
I watched none of the USFL.
Or was it the XFL or whoever did it like last year, year before, where you weren't kicking off from the 35, you were kicking off from the 20, and then nobody was allowed to move until the ball was in the air.
That was the other one.
The AAF
Spring Football League. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, no, you need to possess the ball at both teams. So as far as tomorrow goes, I see you got the betting line up there, and it is now a pick game. Really?
It's actually been a pick game all week. That line has not moved at all.
Yeah, but the line started with Carolina being a 2.5-point favorite
last week. It hasn't shifted since
when it opened. Really?
Yeah.
The streak I think is going to continue. Then Brown's Twitter is going to eat itself alive.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that streak continues tomorrow.
If they win tomorrow, if Carolina wins tomorrow, and he balls out like we've seen him do before, Brown's Twitter is going to implode. Especially if Jacoby Brissett plays the way Jacoby Brissett has played. Everybody's like, oh, he's won games as a starter. He's won 6. Maybe 7.
Speaking of that number 6.
He goes for 260 and 3 touchdowns tomorrow. You're going to see an entire fan base try and hurt itself.
When I was at AEW a couple of weeks ago, some guy was getting booed just by walking up the stands because he already had himself an alternate blue Baker 6 Carolina jersey.
No kidding.
I'm thinking to myself, if he wasn't a 4X, I'd rip it off of him. I could have worn it as a parka, but
to keep it for yourself?
Yeah.
First of all, the Carolina alternate blue jersey is a nice jersey to begin with. Let's start there.
Their entire uniform combination.
I agree. Look, I said they deserve a Super Bowl. Not when this guy's a starter. But unfortunately,
you knew this season was going to suck because of the fact that they brought in a guy who they didn't expect to play for at least half the season. You're running out a retread at quarterback. You dumped basically the entire wide receiver room on a bunch of what ifs. You kept a guy out of camp who can't catch the ball, even if he had Stickum, what was his name? What the fuck was his name? Clifford Franklin.
I would say either Hot Hands from Little Giants or Clifford Franklin were your two choices.
Twinkie.
Clifford Franklin's looking for a new hope.
See, the ball like one man cold. Clifford Franklin, the only one coming down with it. Clifford Franklin, the only one coming up with it. Clifford Franklin, the only one coming down with it.
Didn't Bateman throw him into the locker at that point in time?
Yep.
Another underrated Jon Favreau contribution to the movie landscape.
You know, that's one of my favorite things to do is anymore. Just like I love watching reaction videos on YouTube. So there's like this one girl, she's like 25 from Canada, and now she lives in the US. And what drew me to her channel was her reaction to Top Gun Maverick. And it's like, but then I started going back and watching some of the others, and it's like, yeah, that was like Favreau as a fucking nutcase, and none of us believed it because we all remember him as Monica's boyfriend on Friends for a year. We remember him in Iron Man movies. We remember him as the sidekick in Rudy. We remember him from, oh God, what was that one that he did with Farrell?
Never mind. We remember him as the stoner who lured George Clinton back to the frat house in PCU.
I forgot about PCU. God, I haven't seen that movie in years.
How about him and Jeremy Piven and David Spade headlining a movie?
God, Jeremy Piven, how much I missed, before you like allegedly became a scumbag too.
My favorite Jeremy Piven moment is from Cat Williams' American Hustle DVD. Cat's on his way to a movie pitch meeting, and I want to say one of the guys from Saturday Night Live was one of the guys in the pitch meeting, but Cat's smoking up in the car, and Piven just comes out of the back seat. And it's just, go look it up. It's hysterical. Because at some point in time, Cat looks at the joint and Piven is gone. It's wonderful. So yeah, I like Carolina tomorrow, but I want to go into something else real quick, and this is a surprise for you too, but this is your boy. Did ESPN just save College Game Day with their new lineup?
I was going to message it, but I figured you'd bring it up anyway.
I love him. The show he did at South Dakota State when he called Herb Street an idiot because he was there defending Vinatieri's honor.
In Indiana.
Unfortunately, it's a loss for the WWE because he's not going to be working full-time for them. I will say this. I know you're not a fan of them right now, but Triple H did a really classy thing. He actually went on Twitter because I guess the WWE Twitterverse is almost as bad as the Browns and the Mets Twitterverse. And he said, hey, guys, Pat came to us and asked us if it was okay, and we told him, go. We'll be here when you're done. Go. So you'll probably get McAfee once college football season's over and on, because I know his in-ring stuff is really good too. But I watched a little bit on YouTube today. He's so good.
Could you think that they could have brought him in for some levity and some comic relief, because this could possibly be Corso's last run?
I don't want to talk about it. There are certain traditions that we know are going to end.
Right. We had one earlier this week we're going to cover at the end of the show for something that we never thought we'd actually expect in our lifetime.
But the day Coach Corso can't put the mascot head on. And yes, it started with Brutus, so obviously it means a lot more to Ohio State fans. But he carried an albino gator. He has swam in the duck pool when he picks Oregon. He's, dropped an F-bomb, flipping different to different mascots. Katy Perry ripped one off his head and threw it. I mean, Lee Corso is to college football how many generations grew up on? I mean,
you're gonna make me, because what else starts in a couple of weeks in the college sports universe?
Our first season without Mike Krzyzewski.
And there's another legend in the ESPN broadcast center that we're not going to have for too much longer either. Congratulations on his recovery as well, but
that basketball, the rock that he used to chill for, remember that?
Yep.
Anaconda Sports from Lake Katrine, New York. That's their ball. I've known about Dick Vitale since I was about 10 years old, because they were the ones that outfitted the Little League that I was in.
Nice.
Dickie V's picture hung in their retail store, which is now the location of the Chipotle my son works at.
Sean Tootle.
So I've seen a picture of Dickie V holding a basketball that said The Rock for 30-some years.
My brother met him on his first honeymoon.
Really?
Yeah, they went down to Florida for a few days and actually just saw him, and it's like, Dickie, Mr. Vitale, I love you. He actually got a poster signed for me and my uncle, because my uncle does the greatest Dick Vitale impression you'll ever hear.
That's awesome. I mean, if you think about it this way, I don't mean to interrupt you, but think about it this way. He helped Jim Valvano off the stage at the first ESPYs.
Right.
He's the one who told the kid who made the half-court shot Midnight Madness, I'll pay for your books. We would not know what a diaper dandy or a PTPer is without Dickie V.
The all-Windex team.
Ugh. God help us if that happens in the same season.
Wow, I didn't even think of that.
That we hear Corso and Dickie V aren't going to be there anymore. We've already lost Vern.
Yeah.
Lundqvist isn't doing games anymore.
While I'm thinking about it, we know that what's going to happen with Thursday Night Football. I know you didn't.
I'm interested in Herb Street. I am.
Yeah, Herbie and Al Michaels could be very interesting.
I agree. I love Herbie's style.
I tell you this much. Tirico and Collinsworth Thursday night was very, very good. And we all remember Tirico as the guy behind the desk on SportsCenter. We never used to remember him calling games until about, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Either SportsCenter or the Masters. But that whole network is going stupid.
Yeah, but let's. Yeah, you're right. It's the one thing I actually loved was when Tirico left them and went over to Comcast NBC.
Didn't he take over the Olympics for Costas?
I don't really know, because when I actually the last two Olympic games, I've only been on Peacock, so I'm actually getting what they broadcast, and they're running like Rich Eisen's the guy behind the desk, but I'm wondering if it's Eisen just doing it for Peacock because that's where his show's broadcast, and like Tirico might have like the NBC Prime primary feed or USA because they're shutting down. I think they've already shut down or they're about to shut down NBC Sports Network for good.
Yeah, that's going away. Too much change, James.
Yeah.
Way too much change.
Let's talk real quick before we get out of here tonight about a couple of those other games that you see there. Tampa Bay 2.5 over Dallas in Dallas. This is the gonorrhea versus syphilis game of the week as far as I'm concerned. Nobody gives a shit about either of these teams. These are the two biggest bandwagon jumping teams in the NFL.
Gonorrhea versus syphilis?
I made the analogy before and Alex lost his shit, so now it's your turn.
Okay. How do I recover from that? Oh, here's how.
Rumor was, before you go into that, rumor was, did you see the as a matter of fact, I'm not going to say rumor was, did you see the report of why Brady stepped away?
Then he pissed his wife off or something.
She allegedly she left. She was so pissed off that he came out of retirement again, allegedly, that she took the 3 kids and went down to their second home down in the Caribbean or something. Let's also remember she was the breadwinner in that before she started having kids. And she didn't want him to come back, and he didn't want to come back either. And then all of a sudden he actually wants to come back, and he's not winning another Super Bowl.
No, he's not. And look, if that's true, that's sad. Because I think the other part of that was he made that decision when she wasn't in town.
Yeah, again, all of this is allegedly.
It's all speculation. That's sad, first of all.
The other thing is, yeah, go ahead.
Second of all, can he go away, please?
Yeah, I was just going to say that because I let you go because I thought you were going to steal, my thunder off of what I'm going to say. If any part of that comes out as true, it takes all the luster off of his mystique.
I think a lot of his luster is gone, to be honest with you, for 2 very simple reasons. Anybody with a brain and half a friggin' thought of their own, remember that his first 3 Super Bowls are tainted. Right. So are his next 2. The first 3, of course, Spygate. The next 2, you lost. When you played it, the first 2 Super Bowls, you played legit against somebody, you got your ass handed to you.
Right.
And no, the final score didn't show that, but the guys punching you in the mouth every down showed that. You win your first legit one. Oh, wait, no, you didn't, because there was the deflated footballs.
Yep.
Then there was the stupidest play call in NFL history.
Right.
Then there's the biggest choke job in NFL history. So in reality, you've been to how many, and you've won maybe 2 legit. I mean, the first legit one is the Rams one, to be honest with you. It's the Rams one because they just straight out outplayed them.
Which one?
The one when they beat the Rams.
He's beaten the Rams
twice.
Just straight.
The second one.
Yeah, I wouldn't even actually say that because that was the most boring Super Bowl in history. Nobody wanted to do anything. There was 1 touchdown in that fucking game. From the two highest powered offenses in football.
But what I'm saying is they actually went out and beat them, though. There was no other thing to go with it. They went out and beat them.
Julian Edelman won that MVP by default. He didn't actually win it. They had to give it to somebody. It was the participation trophy award.
The Super Bowl MVP is always a participation trophy award.
It's Aaron Donald winning it last year.
Donald didn't win it last year.
I'm sorry, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp deserved it. Larry Brown, when they beat the Steelers, deserved it for picking off Neil O'Donnell twice, including a key play in the fourth quarter. Typically, the Super Bowl MVP more often than not is a guy who deserves it. When Edelman won that one, and then the hilarity is that people actually started talking about, is he a Hall of Famer? Please, if Terrell Owens is in the Hall of Fame for only 3 years, worth of 3, maybe 4 years worth of damn, there's no way that Edelman deserves to be in above anybody.
And here's where I'll disagree with you about the Super Bowl MVP award meaning anything. I told you and Alex. Namath won a Super Bowl MVP, didn't throw a touchdown. Did Eli Manning deserve either of those Super Bowl MVPs? Or did his defensive line?
You can make an argument that the first one with the ball off of Tyree's head, that by engineering that drive and that he could have actually, the way that he managed the game, I think went a little bit more than Strahan and some of the other guys living in their backfield for a little while.
The NASCAR package held the highest scoring offense in the history of NFL football to 17 points. The second one?
On the verge of perfection as well.
That's what I'm saying. They were 18-0. Randy Moss set the record for touchdown catches that year. Brady set the record for touchdown throws that year, and they scored 17 points.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. His first one against the Rams was entirely tainted because of Spygate and
Vinatieri.
Yeah, and that game was, but I still in my heart of hearts feel that game was fixed.
Let's talk about the second one now. The one against Carolina. Again, you won it on your kicker's leg. You didn't have a great game. And the thing that people ignore about Tom Brady all the time is up until the Rams Super Bowl, the second Rams Super Bowl, he had a top 3 to 5 defense every single year.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, Brady this. No, Brady was a part of very, very, very good teams. Now, where you can give Brady a lot of credit is he didn't do what some of these selfish SOBs are doing now. He never took a payday.
Yeah.
He kept those teams together by not taking the payday, and that's why he's got that many Super Bowl rings.
Because he opened up cap space for them to load around him.
Yep, and to keep what they had together. Remember, he had a top 5 defense and a top 5 offensive line every year.
Yep.
Because he stayed clean and they won close games. I did a show, it was my 101st episode on my show, and I did the LeBron Jordan thing. And there were 3 unequivocal facts about Michael Jordan you couldn't get away from. He never won without a Hall of Fame head coach. He never won without a Hall of Fame running mate. He never won without a Hall of Fame front office. Neither has Brady.
That's true.
Championships are not the mark of individual accomplishment. Championships are the mark of good teams. And sometimes better than good teams. You measure the individual accomplishments against the other individuals. That's great. Are championships a part of it? Yes. Are they the end-all, be-all? No. Because rest in peace to another change we just had. That was the case. Bill Russell would be the greatest player of all time. 11 and 13 years.
Yep.
2 or 3 of them as a player coach. Michael can't touch that.
No. Nobody will ever touch that.
So
already came close.
So as far as the game on tomorrow with Buffalo and Tampa, moving on.
Next game, Las Vegas going into SoFi to play the Chargers as a 3.5-point dog, and Las Vegas goes out and re-signs their tight end for a massive 3-year extension earlier today. Willie's probably very happy about that because their entire core is completely under contract now. But with the Raiders having that heartbreaker that they should have won against Cincinnati on the strength of a botched call that gave Cincinnati the essentially the game-winning touchdown, and Justin Herbert now actually solidifying himself as a top 10, if not a top 5 quarterback in this league. How do these teams open up this year, considering they're going to be neck and neck with Kansas City? And, oh, yeah, Russell Wilson in that division. It is the best division in football, and you can't argue that point.
So I'm going to ask you one simple question. Who's covering Devontae Adams?
Right.
Who's covering Waller?
Who's covering Melvin Gordon?
He hasn't been at him. Is he in with the Raiders now?
I thought he was still with the Chargers. I could be wrong.
No, Melvin Gordon's not with the Chargers anymore. Melvin Gordon's in Denver.
That's right. Okay. But this one, that 3.5 line is
the 3.5
for
line is there because they got rid of Alex Leatherwood, and Bosa's going to have his way at times.
Yep.
This is going to come down to
because Las Vegas does not have a very good front offensive line.
No, but Derek Carr's got a quick release.
Understood, but yeah, he's got to go up against Bosa, and they also, I think, have another stud on the other side of that line.
They do, but again, who's going to cover Devontae Adams? And they have the running game that can neutralize Bosa, because even going back to his Ohio State days, if you ran at him, you had some kind of success at times. Same things happened in the pros. He's much better as the pass rusher than he is as the run stopper. So I really think that they can run the ball and get it done, but Justin Herbert, how good is the Raider defense? This is going to be a shootout.
That's what I was just going to say. I don't know what the over-under is on this game, but all I know is it's not high enough. Because I know the over-under on Thursday night's game was 53, and we had a possibility of getting there, but the over-under on this game should be closer to 80 than 50.
Yeah, I see the third game that you have, the fourth game really.
Kansas City 6.5 going into Arizona.
That's shocking to me. I expected Vegas to be all over Kansas City not being as good at the beginning of the year. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a hell of a year because he didn't lose his favorite target.
Right. It's and it's not the guy who's now playing in Miami.
No, his favorite target has been Cleveland Heights' own Travis Kelce.
There's another one in there. I can't even think of his name, but he's caught the last 3 touchdown passes that Mahomes threw in the playoffs.
Hardman.
Yep. He's still got his weapons. Kansas City's right now, it's leaning on their defense because that was their Achilles heel last year, was their defense.
Mm-hmm.
If they improve that defense at all, look out, because Kansas City could have a rebound year. I still don't think they're beating Buffalo.
No, I think Josh Allen's out for blood. Here's a bold prediction about Kansas City this year. Or about the NFL this year. I really think that Patrick Mahomes is going to win another MVP. And if I went out on a limb and I wanted to get crazy, I think we're finally going to see a State Farm Super Bowl.
Mahomes against Discount Double Check.
Yep. And by the way, if Rodgers takes this Packers team to the Super Bowl, it starts to not even be a question of who the best of all time is.
Although somebody put up the graphic not long ago, between Rodgers and Favre, that's 30-some-odd years of 2 of the probably top 10 quarterbacks in the history of the game, and there's only 1 Super Bowl in there.
Favre got 1.
Okay, 2.
Okay. Now, how many other franchises would take that?
That is, yeah.
The Bears, the Vikings, the Browns, the
And
Bengals.
Alex, sorry, if you're watching this, you guys are going to get slaughtered tomorrow by San Francisco.
I'm not high on Trey Lance.
If they get any sort of play out of Lance, but then again, when you've got Debo and you've got George Kittle, you could put 35 up without blinking.
You could. I don't think the Bears are going to be very good this year. I'm just not very high on Trey Lance. Me personally, I'm just not. I wasn't in the draft. I wasn't coming out. I'm not saying Garoppolo is any better, but I'm just not very high on Trey Lance. Another one, I think, and it scares me to say this, I think the Jets could finish second in the AFC East.
You could make that argument because let's see how improved they are, because with their low salary cap numbers every year, and also as bad as they finish every year, they get very, very high on waiver wires to be able to go out and get guys who can instantly plug in and help your football team. Let's see what Mac Jones does in year 2.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. If you notice, I skipped the team that Tyreek Hill went to. Because I'll say it again. When his quarterback plays against teams that can play with him, he's garbage. I said it when he was in college.
Yep.
I said it when ESCCP NFL decided to anoint him the Heisman favorite because of 2 good passes and a blown coverage.
Yeah, let's actually see how big of a hit that Bryce Petty takes after today in terms of the Heisman. Anyway.
I got one. Just going back to it. I actually did a stat comparison between the 3 Heisman finalists that year. He played 3 games against teams that could run with Alabama. He was benched in 2 of them. Or he was injured in 2 of them. And in the 3rd one, he got lit up. Meanwhile, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins faced 7 of the top 35 defenses and was 7-0. And only threw 1 interception.
But how good is it to have football back? Even though
Bennett race. It's September baseball, and my boys are playing in October, whether they win the division or not. Yes, Saturdays I wear scarlet and gray, but right now it's the Mets shorts, Jim.
Yeah, for me, I think I think Kentucky beat them. I haven't checked in; it hasn't refreshed for me, but I'm all about either black and gold at Mizzou, even though they got taken to the woodshed by K-State today, or blue and orange at Florida, and then it used to be orange and brown, and then for at least the next 3 to 5 years. Hey, wouldn't that be a great idea? Throwing that out in the universe, 3 to 5 years for a guy wearing an orange and brown.
Yo, Kentucky won by 10.
I just had a feeling. I think Florida actually was like emotionally spent after that, that last minute win against Utah last week. So I kind of had a feeling.
Let's see.
Especially with getting Tennessee next year, and I know they'll whip the shit out of them. But well, they always do.
Yeah, I know. Ask Danny Werfel and Peyton Manning.
Yeah. I remember calling into Greg Brenda's show one day and actually saying that he went in and he made Peyton's place into Danny's dungeon.
Greg Brenda. I actually was on the radio with him at the rally for the Indians after the 95 World Series. You know, it was 27 years ago on Thursday that they won that division title, the first one.
Yeah. I hadn't been on Facebook in a couple of days, and I had actually, it was one of those memories or something like that, but it was like it was timestamped a couple of days earlier.
So here's something funny. Remember, Herb Score was still calling games on the radio. Hamilton had the TV that night.
Yep, because it was a nationally televised game.
Because we have Herbie and Hamilton that did that. We got our first Cleveland you will have in October to remember. And Herb Score and his gibberish.
Don't you dare knock Herb Score.
Bob Costas is one of my favorite play-by-play guys of all time. Game 7, 1997, I'm at my buddy's parents' house. We turned the TV down and we listened to Herb Score broadcast his final game. I love Herb Score. He did speak in semi-gibberish. We both know this. It was endearing. It was phenomenal, but it was still semi-gibberish.
You know what? That's actually what for the last 10 years, that's actually what I've been doing is for every Browns game broadcast, whether it's CBS or Fox, I turn the radio down, and it's Jim Donovan and Doug Deacon, although Doug retired, and it's actually now Jim Donovan and I want to say
Nathan Segura. Can I just say another big miss by the Browns there?
Joe
Thomas.
He's making way more money.
You know what, though? Is it next year he goes into Canton or the year after?
Next year. I think he's eligible in 23.
Yeah. That's where they missed it. And we need to fight more for Clay Matthews, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I was actually at Clay Matthews night a couple of years ago where they put him into the Ring of Honor. Ironically enough, it was the it was the Rams Sunday night game because Clay Jr. ran out before the other team and congratulated his dad on the podium, even though he got booed coming out in his Rams gear. That was the Freddie Kitchens nail in the coffin game because it was only the third game of the year and he refused to run Nick Chubb at the 4-yard line with 4 cracks to win the game.
I remember that game. I actually watched that entire game, and I said the same thing.
Mr. Whoop-de-hell.
Especially after what he did to Baltimore in week 2.
Yeah.
Wow, it's an hour and 42 minutes already, James.
Yep. Real quick, off topic, while I'm actually still thinking of the Bills, did you happen to see, and you being a New Yorker, even though it wasn't in your neck of the woods, did you happen to see what happened at the U.S. Open the other night with the daughter of Buffalo owner Kim and Terry Pegula?
No, I didn't. What happened?
Jessica Pegula is a top 10 player on the Women's Tennis Association Tour. Mm-hmm. Jessica Pegula was in the quarterfinals against number 1 ranked and world number 1 Iga Swiatek. Lost the match and was in the post-game presser drinking a Heineken.
Nice.
And was asked about it and says, quote, trying to pee for doping, although it does help ease the loss. That is my quote of the week. Me personally, I would have gone with a Labatt, but I have no problem with a Heineken.
I mean, Buffalo's basically Canada, so the Labatt would have made more sense.
But how great is that? That we need more athletes drinking alcohol in the post-game presser.
Aaron Loop, who pitched for the Mets last year, would open a bush at every single or a bush light at every single post-game presser he did.
I just threw up in my mouth a little thinking of Bush.
Yeah, well, here's one for you.
Yeah, and then they're and yet they're the sponsor of my favorite baseball team, second favorite baseball team.
Yeah. Speaking of your second favorite baseball team, and this one. So we all know I said this year if I went to any games for the Mets, I wanted to go July 9th, which was when they retired Keith Hernandez, number 17, or Old Timers Day, which ended up being the day they retired Willie Mays, number 24. Um, it's been 36 years since the last championship. And of course, that was the infamous ball through Buckner's legs.
Yep.
And in the post game celebration, you don't see Keith Hernandez. Do you want to know why?
I know this story, but you're better at telling it than I am.
Because after he flew out for out number 2, Keith Hernandez went up into the clubhouse, into Davey Johnson's office, into his locker, threw his glove in, and cracked open a Budweiser. Daryl Johnson called him into Davey's office. He sat down in a chair. They scored. They tied the game.
Mookie
They tied the game on the wild pitch. Kevin Mitchell was in the clubhouse.
It's so much he froze up.
So did you. So Mookie Wilson, of course, ties it on the pass ball. And then the ground ball through Buckner's legs. Hernandez wouldn't get up because the chair had hits in it. Leave it to the 86 Mets to have an alcohol-induced missing of a play. Lucky it wasn't cocaine. Oh.
Now you're going to make it. Did you ever watch the show Metalocalypse?
No.
There's a clip I'm going to have to send you. They have a rock and roll clown called Dr. Roxo, and it's a perfect parody of DLR. And his thing is, I eat cocaine.
Well, that's the third Hangover movie.
Never saw any of them.
Okay, the first one's really good. The next two were money grabs. But in the third one, the wonderful Ken Jeong, who is one of my favorite funny men on the planet, his Mr. Chow is parachuting out of an exploding plane and all of a sudden yells, I love cocaine. Oh, boy. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin.
Well, that seems like a good place to put a nice little bow on this. The next time we come to you, we've been publicizing it now for 2 months. It is happening.
Do you know what we have to deliver?
Do you think that we care?
No.
We are 4 to 6 weeks away from it. Do you think we care? Do you think we're going to be on topic at all? Do you think we're going to be sober enough?
I think we'll be on topic for 2 reasons. One, we're getting into the beginning of your favorite season, which of course is hockey.
Yep.
And we're getting into the beginning of the NBA season, which in Cleveland should be a very, very interesting year.
Yep.
Dare I say the most interesting year since 2014.
Arguably, yes.
Because that's the last time they made a splash like this in the off season. So we'll stay on topic maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna probably end up putting a clock on there. I'll have like a manual buzzer on the soundboard to move on, like PTI or something. Okay, here's the 20-minute mark. We could break out the alcohol.
So, question then: who's Kornheiser and who's Wilbon? I'd have to be Wilbon.
Yeah, because I still have some of my hair.
That's very true.
I'm sorry. Could you have teed it up any higher?
I'm wondering how the glare off my head hasn't broken my camera yet.
Oh yeah, I think you're good so far, but I think also the nighttime screen dimmer on my Chromebook is kicked in, so it's real quick.
I'm gonna need stage makeup.
Real quick, I know you're not a fan of this, and I hearkening back to the McAfee thing, and I know you said that I'm not a fan of WWE. Did you hear at all what happened after the AEW pay-per-view last Sunday?
No, I heard, but then when we were talking, and I wanted to was watching. Jim actually took time out of his day the other day to show me how to pull stuff off of YouTube so I could have the audio of some of the shows that didn't get to with the issues I'm having on my end. But you did start to tell me.
CM Punk wins the world title from Jon Moxley, who WWE fans remember as Dean Ambrose of The Shield. Mike, you might even remember him for a little bit.
No, I remember The Shield.
And then proceeds in what AEW does that most other wrestling companies don't do is they take their cue from New Japan, and they actually have the media address, the wrestlers in a scrum after the show is over. So they've got like new women's world champion Toni Storm. They're talking with tag team champion Swerve in Our Glory, and then CM Punk is involved. And there was a little incident that happened with him and Hangman Adam Page, the former world champion, I'm trying to remember. Punk did take the title off of Hangman, and I thought was a blown call originally, and then vacated the title with injury 3 days later. This was back in March, I want to say. Punk misses 3 months with ankle surgery, comes back. They do title versus title when I'm there in Cleveland. Moxley beats him in 3 minutes, according to the storyline, and they play up the injury. And then 10 days later, Punk wins the title again, and now has a torn tricep and is going to miss 8 months.
Oof.
So he's had the title on 3 separate occasions over an 8-month span, or not even an 8-month span, about a 6-month span. But he's relinquished it twice due to injury. He calls out Hangman Page and starts going into business for himself and goes off topic. Then he starts calling out Executive Vice President Matt and Nick Jackson, known as the tag team the Young Bucks, and Executive Vice President Kenny Omega, who are known as the Elite and had just won the AEW Trios 6-man world titles earlier in the night. Then later on, Punk is in his locker room with his dog and his trainer Ace Steel, Chicago legend. And the Elite busts into the locker room, and it turns into a fracas. Allegedly, he punches out one of the Jacksons. Ace Steel bites Kenny Omega, as Omega was actually trying to get Punk's dog out of the locker room so the dog didn't get hurt. But Ace Steel's in there with his wife, who's got a broken foot, and he's trying to get his wife away from the whole thing. And then other producers and wrestlers get involved to where Punk, the Bucks, Omega, Michael Nakazawa, and Brandon Cutler, who are also part of like the Elite and the backstage production group, all get suspended indefinitely. So 2 nights later on AEW Dynamite, their typical Wednesday show, they have to vacate the world title and the trios title because all 3 of these guys are suspended indefinitely. And now there's talk that Punk may actually want to just leave altogether after that massive debut last year. So there's people trying to defend Punk, and then there's people saying now you're seeing the real CM Punk going into business for himself and just whining and bitching when he doesn't get his way. So it really
is a soap opera.
Yeah, it's and yet they hold a talent only meeting where it's Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho, and Moxley, and they said that morale was better than it had been in months for that meeting before the TV show happened later on that night. Because Moxley was supposed to take 2 months off. Moxley was supposed to take 2 months off for vacation and actually canceled it to be able to try and rally the troops. But
speaking of rallying the troops, and I will leave you with one of the funnier things I've ever read in my entire life. You were supposed to be seeing pay-per-view this past week.
Wasn't Jake Paul, was it?
No. That piece of garbage.
Yeah.
The Social Gloves boxing event The main event, was supposed to be there. Austin McBroom and Anderson Gibb, whoever that is, they're both YouTube guys. They were supposed to fight. The undercard, Nick Young, the NBA player, was fighting a rapper named Blueface. The first fight of the night, Adrian Peterson against Le'Veon Bell.
I saw this. Well, I
Did
heard
you see
about
they
it, but I
only
didn't
sold
actually
200
see it.
tickets?
What's that?
They only sold 200 tickets.
Right.
Guy, whose Twitter handle is Joey Bag of Donuts, from Pittsburgh. I did a couple of shows with him when I first started doing this.
I've heard of that guy.
He's great. And he doesn't like me much because I hit him with the Tim Tebow and the because he kept talking smack about the Browns. He just tweeted it and he goes, "I'm surprised at this because Le'Veon Bell makes great decisions and always has some good things in mind." I'm like, wow. Oh wow. I'm literally flipping through Twitter and the someone made a gif of Karencheck getting his head fondled by the umpire. And that's really what that guy that's a no touch. What is that guy doing? Does he know Jim Jordan?
Really?
Oh God.
I got an ankle bracelet. I will strip off like an elbow pad.
I hope he loses. Oh, James. So,
oh man,
what do you? So let me tell you what's coming up for Big Rican, because now that I have the ability to get the audio out, I got to go back and look through all the stuff. So maybe there'll be more stuff on there. As you see, Jim has the at Big Rican on Sport and the Anchor spot. If you go on Twitter, my Twitter file, I have a link tree set up where my page is, which everything goes to that. Anchor, Breaker, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Radio Public. Ask Alexa to play Big Rican. So on top of the next week will be a double Big Rican Buckeye review, because those next two games are going to be. We're going to have a Big Rican baseball show coming up to preview the best month of the year, October, which will be interesting with the first year of the new playoffs setup. Why don't you hop on with us?
yeah.
I'll let you know when it is.
I'm not going to be able to contribute as much, but yeah, I'd be more than happy to jump on with you guys for a little bit.
It's going to be me, Willie, and Alex probably.
Baseball is not my forte because, yeah, you are right. October is the best month of the year because it's also the start of the NHL season, which I am like dramatically geeked up for, especially after free agency.
Oh, I'm sure. But yeah, it's going to be the four of us most likely. Me, you, Willie, and Alex.
We've never done a 4-man booth before.
We should, though. That's Twitter's getting stupid. I'm sorry. But yeah, outside of that, it's going to be that and prepping for the Wise Guys 1-year anniversary, which is unreal. I can't even tell you. It doesn't feel like it's been a year, James.
This is episode 14. It's going to be a nice round bow. It's going to be episode number 15. Nice round number. But the fact that we hit a year and both haven't been thrown off of YouTube yet. Now, yet this episode hasn't been cleared yet.
That's true. Although you do put the parental advisory thing up there. So we do have recourse.
We do.
I'm sure my fuck ESPN at the beginning of this whole thing is not going to win me any points, but I don't care.
And you will be able to see, if you go to either one of our YouTube pages, you will be able to see that we can't differentiate this because Mike does have the Big Rican logo up. I've got my logo up. I'm actually contemplating if I change my logo for the anniversary, but then that means I got to redo this, and then I got to redo my hat, and it's like, is it really worth it?
No.
But also, Wise Guys shows, the logo will actually be able to be thumbnailed for those, so you'll be able to actually see where, if you go to my page, even though Mike has all of the previous Wise Guys shows on his channel there, I actually have a separate playlist on my channel.
Mhm.
Links to all of those. So this way, if you guys want to come back and catch any previous Wise Guys shows, or you can also go straight to my site down there below, because I've got a specific page to be able to access all of the podcasts that will take you straight to Google and Anchor for Mike, and then also our respective YouTube pages for any previous Wise Guys shows. We do have, I'm contemplating how quick I get to bed tonight and how many places I have to run to tomorrow morning. I'm contemplating live streaming part of the Browns Panthers game tomorrow. I'm trying to see how I can maybe pull that setup off. Do I do the whole game? Do I do a half? Do I do a quarter? Depends on how many F-bombs I want to drop. How much my dad might be blowing up my phone trying to actually, want to call me during the game and everything, because we're both very pro Baker as well. But you'll probably see something on my Twitter feed about that later on tonight or tomorrow morning after I make that decision. I'm also going to actually start probably streaming games on Twitch here before too long, once I figure out that setup, trying to actually work in a second monitor. But we're hopeful that we can maybe get hopefully we can get a sports note out maybe Monday or Tuesday at the latest, especially with what might come out tomorrow, if we get a major injury or if a major storyline comes out of opening week of the NFL. But that is pretty much it for us tonight. It is way past both of our bedtimes, and me actually saying that is saying something as well. I don't go to bed until 2-3 in the morning on a Saturday. But again, by the time, we will both be letting you know in some capacity when we have a date nailed down for that show. Everyone out there who watches this, whether you're watching us live, whether you're actually watching us on demand on our YouTube or Facebook Live or Twitch pages, you are more than welcome to come on and join the conversation. We're going to be lining up guests left and right. It is going to be our biggest bash ever. It is going to be our most off the rails. It is also going to be easily the most fun we will ever have, because nothing beats the first time.
Absolutely not. And that's why our high school reunion show, we spent most of it laughing.
This is 2 shows in a row, including like last week, that we stayed predominantly on the rails. What's wrong with us?
Why are we mixture? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's because we've been talking about having Natalie on so much. We're trying to stay on topic as we can. I mean, even the one other night when we went a little bit off the rails with Willie, we very quickly brought it back.
Yeah, and that went off the rails because of your camera freezing, which actually turned into a great clip for all of us.
Well, real quick before we go, speaking of great clips, you got to see where this ball Pujols hit today and landed.
Hang on 1 second.
Here we
There
go.
it is. Okay, just because we actually didn't get them in, yeah, I'll risk the copyright strike.
Really?
That is a song by a heavy metal band called Psycho Stick. It is called NSFW, and they say the word fuck over 380 times in that song.
Oh, so it's basically super bad.
There are only 2 words in that song, fuck, and the last word of the song is shit.
So it's basically super bad.
It's funnier. because the 1812 overture is now put to words, except that one word is fuck.
That's
Whenever
not
we-
1812. That's Eine kleine Nachtmusik by Beethoven. That's not, or Mozart. That's not, 1812 is different. 1812 is one with the cannons.
No, they do that.
Hilarious.
That's in the second half of the song.
Oh, so they mash up too. Very nice.
They also get Bill Manspeaker of the band Green Jello, who did that classic song Three Little Pigs with Maynard James Keenan from Tool, if you remember that.
You mean, didn't they get sued and have to change their name to Green Jelly?
Yes. Remember, they also did the soundtrack for Maximum Carnage on the Genesis.
That's right. So real quick, I want to leave us with one thought. And we were talking about end of eras if we lose Coach Corso and obviously Dick Vitale. Obviously the Queen passing just the other day. Your heart goes out because it's still somebody's grandmother or great grandmother or mother or what have you. So your heart obviously goes out to them. I saw the funniest meme about that. So Queen Elizabeth II met this many popes, 13 U.S. presidents, and 59 Cleveland Browns quarterbacks.
Yes. There were so many funny yet classy memes that came out about that with the irony.
Yes.
She was 96. My grandmother lived in 92.
Think about it. We two women who actually volunteered for service in World War II have left us in the last several months between her and Betty White.
Yeah.
Insanity. Well, James,
and real quick on that, let's think about this. Perhaps within the next, even though longevity runs in their family, we actually went from thinking she's never going to pass away. Charles is never going to take over. He's 70. He's 74 years old, and we're thinking, are we going to get another king in the next 5 to 10 years?
Most likely, William will get the throne in the next few years. I am happy to hear that his brother did get over there to see her before it happened.
Yes.
Well, listen, I have to go to bed.
Yeah, I have a Hallmark movie
I'm
to
gonna
watch.
start snoring on here.
And then I
Another
have
Hallmark movie?
What's that?
Another Hallmark movie?
It's every Saturday night, man.
Oh, yes.
And then I actually have to figure out what I'm doing for dinner for the game tomorrow. I did Burger King tonight. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
That'll stay with me about 4 days.
I tell you what, the caffeine in this actually works. I'm still pretty decently awake.
Thanks actually for reminding me. I'm down to my last bottle of vitamin water, so it's another stop I have to go to tomorrow. Although
yeah, we got to do grocery shopping too.
Sheets open finally at the end of my street.
Love Sheets.
You can actually just cut the right now. I'm in my coma. And Sheets is open 24 hours. It's one of the only places in the area that's back open at 24 hours.
They're the only ones brave enough?
Yeah, although the weird thing is that Sheets is one of the only gas stations in the area that's now actually like selling that new 88 grade that's popping up everywhere. I'm thinking of like trying it.
I have a hybrid. I don't care.
Yeah, you can't.
No, I whatever goes in stays there. We put $30 in it the other day and we've gone 300 and some miles on it.
Yeah, I remember when we did the Chicago trip last year, we took Adam's hybrid and we only had to put gas in on the way out from the rest stop just past Toledo and never had to put gas in on the way back.
In my hybrid, I filled up here 2 seconds down the road. I went from here to Streetsboro back to South Euclid and still had 100 miles left on the tank.
When was this?
2018, when I went out for the Ohio State game with Creedy's.
I was going to say, because if this was recent and you and I didn't get together, I
honestly, I haven't been back to Ohio since 2019. And that was, and even
for just reasons, yeah.
Yeah, but even that was in the hybrid, and I had the two older kids with us. But It's still, my wife filled up before we left here in New York, and I'm 500 and change away from there anyway. Just about.
Yeah.
We didn't fill up yet.
Well,
Until we-
everyone, have yourself a great night. Stay safe. Stay dry with the rain that could be coming here, and we will see you guys. We will see you guys on our individual channels, and we will definitely see you guys sometime next month for the big birthday bash. And everybody, have yourself a great weekend and enjoy the NFL back tomorrow. We will see you soon.
Take care, guys.
Take care.